Hello and welcome to the December edition of the OSBA Forum. I'm Mark Bobo, and as always, I'm grateful to have this opportunity to share with you. You know, as 2023 ends, it feels appropriate to have a moment and time of reflection. It's said that change is the only constant, and the earlier we accept that, the earlier we get ready for the future. We're also advised to take a moment to reflect and look back, but only for an instant, because new possibilities are just over the horizon. And I want to be clear, that's the spirit of today's conversation as we focus on your association, the Ohio School Board Association, where we are today and where we're going in the future. And there's no better person to have that conversation with than our own Chief Executive Officer, the distinguished Dr. Kathy McFarland. Kathy, glad to have you today.
Oh, hi, Mark. Thank you, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you're on the hot seat today.
Yes.
But we're going to have some fun.
I have been for the last 6 months. So thank you for the opportunity.
Before we jump in,
Yeah.
like for the membership to learn a little bit, we know Dr. Kathy McFarland, Chief Executive Officer, but we'd like to hear a little bit about Kathy. So just tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, that's fun. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
So grew up in Worthington, was very fortunate, was a athlete, was a swimmer, went on to swim at North Carolina State University, got a communications degree, came back and said, now what do I do? And there was an opportunity to do some substitute teaching in Dublin City Schools, and I did that. And Mark, the first minute I was in that classroom, I was like, this is where I belong.
Yeah.
Now my mother, my grandmother, my one of my aunts, and one of my uncles are all teachers, so I don't know why I didn't get the, hey, this could be in your blood type of thing. But so through my experience of substitute teaching, I also had an opportunity to coach their swim team. Went back to school, got my teaching license, and then was certified to teach high school English. So did high school English, was also a middle school principal, and then a high school principal in the Olentangy local school district. So, and then I was an assistant at North Union.
I was about to say, we did North Union together, and you
We
let me
did,
know
we
about the
did.
little spots there.
That's right.
Can't forget
I was
North
in
Union.
North Union
Yeah.
for a year as an assistant. So 26 years of public education, of being what I would consider boots on the ground in the building with the students and those adults that support the students in their learning journey.
Yeah, so you definitely come from an educated perspective.
I do.
Having lived through not only teaching in the classroom, serving in administration, and now serving in educational leadership. You know, when you think about all that you've done as far as, education and now walking into this role, the challenges here at an association leadership are a little bit different than maybe what's in a district. So, just jumping right in, as the association, as we're walking into 2024, what do you see? I'm not going to use the C word. What do you see as opportunities that are ahead of us in 2024?
Yeah. So, in preparation for our time together, I figured you were going to probably talk to me about, hey, what's coming up in 2024. So I listed a few things. I would say that most of our board members, our membership, our superintendents, our treasurers, our practitioners, our educators are talking about everything from K-12 funding to workforce development, especially with the Ohio Department of Education now changing to do. That's been a big part of our conversations, will be a big part of 2024. Teacher recruitment and retention is a real concern right now when we look at those young people that are getting into education, those that are in it right now, retaining them. And so that's a big one. Literacy, of course, Governor DeWine's Science of Reading is something that we'll be talking about. Numeracy, early learning, mental health of our students and our educators. School safety is always one of the top priorities of our membership. Transportation, gosh, it just seems like our transportation has such challenges, making sure that our kiddos are getting to school and to home safely. Access to technology. So I would say nothing necessarily like, oh my gosh, we haven't heard about this yet. But Mark, when I think of the topics that our membership are concerned about, and when I say that, I mean want resources or services tailored to these things. It really, to me, has to do with which district they are in, right? In some districts, transportation is a huge challenge. And in some districts, they're like, we've got transportation, but the mental health of our students right now is a priority. And I'm going to use Tuskegee Valley as an example. you know from our Capitol Conference, that horrific event that happened in that community. So if I'm an educator, if I'm an educational leader in that community, and I'm sitting down saying, hey, what is 2024, our priorities? I'm guessing that the mental health of their students, of their communities, and of their educators, because of that horrific event, is probably now bumping that up to one of their top two or three priorities. And so I think literacy is going to be a top priority of a lot of our membership. You just don't change the way you've been teaching reading. You just don't walk in and say to your teachers on the first day of school, here, implement science of reading. So there's a lot of thinking and conversations going around. What does that look like? What type of training do we need to do? And so, like I said, I think those are probably the top topics. And it really depends on where your district is and what your district is currently experiencing and how you maybe prioritize some of those.
And I think sometimes what is lost when people see OSBA is the reality that we're trying to serve 711 school districts. And quite honestly, there's such various perspectives, approaches, and as we try to support each of them, just share with our audience how important it is that we as an association try to provide supports that district particularly needs that might be a little bit different than the district down the street.
That's a great question, because a lot of times a district will say, well, wait a minute, why are we focusing on school safety? And I'm going to use a gun, teachers carrying guns. I want to go there. Some districts were absolutely against that, didn't want to consider it, wouldn't even have the conversation. And quite honestly, some of our smaller rural districts were saying, we do not have the support or the EMT or the police within 40 minutes of us. And so we would prefer not to have our teachers be armed, but this is how we feel our students will be safe. And so we do often have districts that say, well, why are they having that conversation? And like you pointed out, one of the beautiful things about the state of Ohio is how diverse our districts really are. And so what we do as an association is we really make sure that we're listening and we're providing the services and the resources specific to that district's need.
It was so telling, because I remember that meeting where that conversation came up, and we were very new. And so our experience had been a little bit different, but to hear from a school district to say, it takes that long for protection to come here. God forbid anything happen. But we have to wait that long. So it's so telling when you visit different districts and go in different conversations, how, again, you said the diversity of our district, which is a beautiful thing. But understanding as their association, we're trying to provide supports all the way around and through that. Which leads me to my next question, specifically around legislative advocacy. So we have our legislative platform that we are committed to, that's dictated to us by our delegate assembly. But just talk a little bit about how our legislative advocacy efforts are done and why it's so important that our voice is heard even at the State House.
So once again, you pointed out a really, really critical piece of information, which I don't know if a lot of people realize. The OSBA staff does not come up with our legislative platform.
Say that again.
The staff here at OSBA does not create that platform. What we do is it represents what our membership, what is it, 75% of our membership have to vote to have something put into our platform. So and that's a pretty high threshold, right? So we feel pretty good that if 75% of our membership is saying this is what is important to us, and we want the lobbyists to be down advocating in this light, than it is in our platform. And like I said, we feel real strong that with a 75% threshold, that's pretty strong. Our purpose at the State House is to educate legislators, right? They have all kinds of things going on. We're the public education experts. Coupled with our partners, as in BASA and OSBA, we're down there to say, hey, we see this House bill. Here's what it's going to look like in practice, right? Here's what it's going to really look like when you put it implemented into a schoolhouse. That's our job as lobbyists and as an advocacy group, is to go down and just make sure that the legislators are making sound decisions in the educational arena, and we're there to support them and say, let us give you some information, let us give you some background, let us tell you what this is going to look like to make sure that this is actually what you want to push through as a bill.
And we're just talking very openly and transparently. That process is very important for our membership to get involved in.
Absolutely.
And then on the other side, we have seen in the past where, we'll have delegate assembly, and it'll be, can we say interesting?
Yes.
Say interesting.
Yeah.
And we listened to our membership, however, and made appropriate adjustments to that to make sure that it's a streamlined process and that it can go well. I think the also part you said about 75% and having that threshold of support from our membership is very important when our legislative team is advocating from the team. This is a majority of our membership say this is what we want to have done.
Right.
So what would you say that comes to mind are some of the quick wins, or excuse me, not quick wins, all of them take hard work, but wins that we have had in the past year that you're proud of?
I would say just our constant keeping our arms around school funding. It's not perfect by any means, but definitely making sure that the monies are staying in public education and supporting our public schools. I would say some of our bills in regards to the graduation for kiddos that were staying in school a little bit longer. That was our win for us.
I would also highlight that the monies that we're able to get in, if I have that number correctly, $1.5 billion more dollars coming to our school district. So that's a positive. And I want to shout out our legislative team. They work hard, and thank you for your continued efforts on behalf of our membership. So you mentioned earlier, I'm biased, so OSBA is that leading voice, respected voice in public education, but it's so important our collaborative efforts that we have with our other state associations. Talk a little bit about those collaboration efforts that we have.
So we're very fortunate. We have the Secondary Principal Association here at 8050 North High. We also have the Superintendent Association. They are located on the first floor, so we do a lot of jumping back and forth to make sure that we are having conversations. And then OSBA, of course. I would say when people say, what's the association? How do they support board members? I was taught that it's like a three-legged stool. You have your superintendent, you have your treasurer, then you have your board members. So I would say those are the two associations that we work the most closely with. And just to make sure that we are not always walking together, but kind of headed in the right direction, and that we're supporting one another, because that is such an integral part to the success of a community, is that the treasurer and the superintendent and the board members are at least communicating and have a vision, hopefully have a strategic plan in place that they're working towards, just so that they can make sure that they're supporting their students. So I would say those are the two, but we have, with the teacher associations and middle school association principals, and we have quite a few. I would say. I don't want to try to name them all because I'm going to miss somebody. But and we always promote the fact that we're here. So if they're doing work or they have questions for us about our membership or how we can support them, we always encourage how important it is to have these partnerships.
I think what can sometimes be lost is, one singular voice can't make all the difference. We need all of us united together. On behalf, at the end of the day, we all support public education. And as you said, we're all trying to go in that right direction, which is so important. As we look to 2024, you stepped into the official role in May of 2023. So it's been approximately, quick math, 7 months.
And the building is still standing.
That's right.
You guys are still here.
That's right.
Which is good.
That's a definite positive.
That's a win.
As you've looked at these past 7 months, maybe share one thing that you would say, I didn't realize this before I sat in the actual seat.
Oh, the tremendous responsibility I feel. And I go back to when I was a high school principal or middle school principal, when you pull out at the end of the day and you look at the building and you think, oh my gosh. I would say just how important our role as an association is, how blessed I am to be a part of such a phenomenal leadership team. But just the responsibility that we have to just make sure that students in the state of Ohio are getting the supports they need, and that there's adults making good decisions who are governing our districts. And so just that thrill of being on the team, but also that huge responsibility I've always felt to students, to really making sure that I'm doing a good job, that the team I'm on is doing a good job, and that the board members that are leading our communities are doing a good job, and that they're getting what they need. I want to really make sure that our board members and and our members are getting the support they need.
Yeah, and I'll give you open kudos. You know, you have been very intentional since you've sat in the seat to continue to develop those relationships, to continue to, honestly, us as a staff, develop us to make sure that we are where we need to be, as well as being able to support our membership in that. We want to thank you for that leadership, and it's not an easy job, but you've done it well. And thank you for continuing to support us even as a staff. So we're excited about 2024. Just give us in our membership just some things to think about as we head into 2024.
Yeah. So a big goal of mine, Mark, is to really get student voice recognized not only at the district level, but here at the state level. We've worked with Dr. Bell with some of his Ohio OSU leadership students that he works with, and we had those kids visit us for delegate assembly at Capitol Conference, and so really looking down the road, continuing to make sure that students have a voice, and also that we are encouraging them to pursue leadership positions in education. You know, hopefully as maybe an educator, as a teacher, principal or superintendent or a treasurer, but also to be on their local boards someday. We really I'm really encouraging our boards to have a seat at the table for student voice, because I'm going to tell you something about students. They will tell you.
That's a fact.
You don't have to waste your time wondering about stuff. If you invite them to the table, I've only seen really great things when students come to the table, and it's just really good for them to know that they're part of their educational journey. And so I would say, you know, looking down the road is really trying to get students, maybe some training for students, some resources, maybe inviting them for more of the day at Capitol Conference. And so that's exciting. I personally would love to visit every district that is in our membership. I don't know how I support you or how I lead a team to support you if we haven't sat down and had a conversation and you haven't had the opportunity to show off your district. I love to meet with students, and so I'm going to take a little this opportunity right now to say that, you know, I would love to come for a visit, and if you're interested in having me come for a visit, Mark and I are going to actually work with Sally Green, our incoming president, who has also the goal to get out as much as we possibly can, and just invite us, and we would love to come to your buildings, maybe to a board meeting. But like I said, I don't know how you establish relationships unless you get to know people. And so that's a big goal of mine. So I would say student voice, getting in front of our membership, and really listening about, you know, are we creating programming and resources and services to meet the needs of what our membership needs today? Not what they needed 10 years ago, not what they needed, you know, whatever. Now, 2024, Kathy and team, this is what we need. And so that's our job, is to create those services and those trainings. And then really to try to figure out how best to get it to you, right? Do you like to watch it at midnight on a video? Do that? Do you have do we travel around the state and do these trainings? And so, once again, just going back to really listening to what our members' needs are and addressing those.
Well, Kathy, again, certainly appreciate your leadership.
It? Well, are we finished? Are we done? God, that was fast. That was fast.
I tell you, you know, when you're having a good conversation with good people, the time flies. So, no, sincerely, thank you for your leadership here at OSBA, and thank you for continuing to support us as a staff, supporting our membership, and supporting the growth of students, and making sure the students have every opportunity to be their best. So thank you for being with us here today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And so once again, I want to thank you, our membership, for being with us today. I would be remiss, we will not close before we take a moment to thank the phenomenal team that works in the background to bring this production to you. I want to particularly thank Jeff, Angela, Drew, Scott, both Scotts, I'm forgetting someone, Wanda, all of you all that have worked behind the scenes to make this come to fruition. Thank you so much for supporting the OSBA forums. Those things happen. And but sincerely, thank you to our OSBA team holistically for the work that you do and the support that you have for our membership, And ultimately, at the end of the day, our students benefit and they're better because of the work that you do. So it is our hope that you all enjoy a wonderful holiday season and that you'll come back in 2024 inspired to continue to do great work. As always, if there's any way that our OSBA team can help you, please don't hesitate to contact us. We are here as a resource for you, always our membership. So again, thank you for being with us here today. Happy holidays, happy 2024. We'll see you in January at the OSBA Forum. Take good care.
Happy holidays.